Welcome to Songs from the Catalog, where Fire Talk artists talk songs from our catalog. Today we've got Dead, Mamalarkey, Gary Indiana, Deeper, and Corey Flood, all talking songs from their 2020 releases. Out now on Fire Talk.
We're Dead. I'm Jason.
I'm Emily.
I'm Eric.
We're going to talk to you today about Loner, a song off of our most recent record, Flower of Devotion.
Loner is one of my favorite songs off the album because it's super fun and poppy, and it was my attempt at writing about being someone who didn't need anybody, and in the sort of sense of being like an autonomous individual who could take care of themselves and didn't want for anything or need for anything in some way. And when I was trying to write about this subject, I was trying to write about it in a sort of a fun way, and also not realizing that when the song came out, it was going to be during a global pandemic when everybody was forced to be alone in isolation. For me, it was like just looking at friends that I have who are really good at taking care of themselves and like being on their own and kind of going on their own adventures, like whether it be traveling alone or just like going off into the world and not needing to have a sort of enmeshment or codependency with anybody. And it was my look at myself and trying to detach from certain types of relationships. And not to say that I wanted to be like, I don't need anybody, I'm an island, but sort of romanticizing that idea and trying to find the middle ground between being a hermit and being somebody who like has to have like a partner or has to have like a certain family member like approving of them. It was just this sort of like, I'm okay by myself, and of course I have a host of friends, and of course I love having partners, etc., and my bandmates and my family, but I just wanted to be okay at the end of the day when I was like by myself in my house.
Kind of a fun new adventure for us because it was the first one that we messed around with, like we brought a drum machine into the fold, so it kind of like brought us back to ground zero of like writing songs, because it was like a new instrument, so it was like we were totally new at doing it again, which I think like throughout us writing songs is helpful when we have some element where we feel like we don't know what we're doing at all, which I think is where some of the magic comes from.
Yeah, it like really kept us on our toes, literally and on the timeline as well, because we had to kind of stay snapped to a grid. And one of the things that we like to do as a group is like weave in and out of each other's rhythms, and sort of if one person's speeding up or slowing down, we all follow each other and keep each other in line. And this song kind of heralded us into this new regimented way of performing, which was like, gotta stay on a grid because there's a beat playing and you can't go off of it. It was kind of cool to be challenged in that way.
We've recently been sending some of our songs to some friends to remix or collaborate on, and I like been constantly getting text messages to be like, you guys don't play with a metronome, do you?
Like, no. So that's our little take on Loner. Thanks for listening. We are Dead, and
listen in your headphones.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Peace.
Well, I got it, got it, got it, got it, got it, I'm fine, I'm
Hi, this is Scott from Gary, Indiana. So a couple of interesting things about Nike of Samothrace. The title came first, and that kind of informed how the music sounded. Very powerful. Nike is the Greek goddess of victory, so there was always a sense of something epic and earth-shattering about it. We recorded the drums in a kind of warehouse-like venue called the White Hotel, which is in Salford, outside of Manchester, near to a prison called Strangeways. And it's a really interesting space. We like to record in spaces that feel like they impart something on the sound. We kind of got a bit more than we bargained for with the White Hotel. The roof is corrugated metal, and there was a torrential downpour of rain whilst we were setting up to record, so it just sounded like we were in a war zone or something when we were setting the microphones up, because there was just rain hammering against the roof and it was reverberating around. And I mean, it sounded really cool, but it wasn't necessarily what we'd intended. So luckily, when we started to record the drums, the rain, I think, died down a bit, but to be honest, it was so loud in there, it was hard to tell anyway. So yeah, like that's the kind of thing you face, I suppose, when you're not recording in a studio, but it's something that we revel in and really enjoy, that there's this kind of history behind the song for us, or this place that's attached to it.
So the way Scott and I have been working on the vocals side of things for this project, since we started playing together actually, is that he'll send me basically the backbone of a song, so the bare instrumentals, like what he's come up with, and I'll spend some time by myself with the music, so I'll just have it in my headphones, go for a walk, listen to it on repeat for days and days and days on end. And that's how I come up with both the melody, when there is one, and the lyrics. So everything I've written for this band is effectively a reflection of the way the music has made me feel, which I find is the best way for me to kind of truly put my emotions into what I do. So in the case of Nike, it was at some point during the first lockdown, because we're on our third lockdown here in the UK. So it was at some point in the spring, and I hadn't had very much human contact in a good couple of months. And I started spending a lot of time with this really dark, very kind of unnerving track, because that's what it is. It's just very odd and repetitive and grating. And it took me to a very odd place, and that's how I ended up writing this really dark, kind of twisted tale of an odd vengeance. It's essentially one side of a conversation between a woman walking home alone at night and a man who is essentially harassing her. And it starts off quite nicely. She's talking to him, she's being polite, because we're told that us women, we need to be polite when those things happen. And so she's saying, no, I'm fine, I'm going home, I'm walking home, I'm all right, I don't need help, I don't need someone to walk me home. And as it progresses, he starts becoming physical with her, and he grabs her, so she stabs him. And I think one of the weirdest things about this song is not even what I came up with, but the vocals that are actually on the track were recorded on my iPhone.
Hey, it's Lippy from Mamalarkey, and I'm going to talk about our song Fury. Fury is definitely one of the most high energy songs in our repertoire. It's just a lot of, aggressive guitars and just loud, obnoxious synths in your face. And it really hypes me up. When we play it live, we like to play it first because it was just kind of like, I don't know, it kind of just felt like we were announcing ourselves, and then we'd like to play a really smooth, relaxing song afterwards, just to kind of contrast it. That song we recorded actually in my living room at the time. And, our jam space, our little, recording jam space was right in the kitchen. So, lots of, move that pan off the wall, it's rattling because we're playing really loud. Usually for us, we like to record, a basic track, which is just drums and bass and guitar. If my memory serves me, that's how we tracked it. And we had this engineer, Daniel McNeil, helping us and making it sound way larger than it did in any rehearsal. So we started off with the basic and just making sure all the hits and all the little pauses were perfect when we came in together. And then we doubled the guitar 1,000,000 times. Maybe actually more like 3 or 4 layers of guitar, but we had it all running through this Yamaha mixer that's from the 70s. It has a drum machine in it, and it really just kind of distorts things in a really nice way. That's why that song sounds just the way it does. I didn't have lyrics for the song at the time or a melody when we recorded it, but I knew I had to come up with something fast. So while we were, sitting with the basic and kind of making a mix happen, I was trying to think of lyrics and a melody really quick. And I think I wrote it all out, and then I scribbled some things out that were kind of dumb. and then I had my final draft. And then the next day I went and tracked the vocals, and that was really fun. I feel like the vocals are actually pretty, like, they are so simple, but they're kind of challenging because they have those long notes in there. Fury is really dear to all of us. We definitely have a lot of fun playing that song, and I listen to it like max volume sometimes, and I'm like, am I a part of this? Did I ever feel this fury and this just chaotic energy? I definitely think that is an energy you feel when you're traveling a lot and you're just feeding off the energy of live music. So I'm looking forward to more moments like that ahead. And yeah, thanks for checking us out. This is Livy from All Malarkey signing out. Woo!
When we were writing this heat, we were all kind of at the lowest point of Chicago's winter, when the cold feels never ending and everything just feels pretty hopeless. We really wanted to capture the feeling of going crazy from being cooped up inside all winter. And even if you've never had seasonal depression, I think we all know the feeling of dreading stepping outside into another gray day. Sometimes when the sun peeks out, it can break the spell and provide even just a moment where you know things are going to be okay. I think that's another feeling that we're really trying to capture in this. In the recording process, we took the song structure and looked for ways to make it sound like it was really starting to break loose and capture the feeling of being on edge. We added random cuts of distortion and feedback, and I think this really sends the listener into our frazzled mindset that comes around in mid-February.
There's a kind of respect you establish with other Chicagoans after these long stretches of time without warmth. The kind of camaraderie that makes everyone in your periphery your friend. Though writing about the weather is mundane and maybe a bit obvious, when you break it down, it is what uninterested people talk about. But when it has such a profound effect on your body and mind like a Chicago winter, it becomes something so primal and naturally the most important conversation to be had. By the final chorus and ultimately the upbeat turnaround, we wanted to push the feeling of the first day above 40. After months in the 20s, Chicago feels like a different place. The city awakens, feeling familiar and welcoming. You start to remember why you live here. The lyrics at the end, "You're locked in a suit, the fever machine, come back to me," it's almost like my siren song to the warm sun waiting at the end of a long winter.
Hey, this is Ivy from Corey Flood. The song title Heaven Or actually stems from an inside joke we had at band practice one day. I'm terrible with naming songs, and Em thought Heaven or NASCAR would be hilarious, and we agreed, but we also didn't want to have any NASCAR lawyers after us, so we shortened it. But I think it ultimately fits the song. This idea of, is this a reality I want, or is it what I'm supposed to want? Is this heaven, or is it something else? The lyrics speak to themes that resonate throughout the record, like feeling a disconnect between your sense of reality and the version other people are depicting. As a band, we try to capture that emotional dissonance by also leaning towards unusual song patterns or construction. I love playing with Em and Juliet for so many reasons, but what makes Corey Flood work is how we meet each other at whatever weird place we're coming from. There's some magical symbiosis there, and it just fits. Em and Juliet bring such unique interpretations to guitar and drums in response to whatever I'm working on, and that's what I love about writing songs with them. I read Jen Pelly's book on the Raincoats around the time I started working on these songs, and the band's ethos of rejecting traditional structures is a very freeing concept I try to embrace. I had also read Brick Smith-Start's memoir around that time, and her songs with The Fall became a really big touchstone for me. The refrain, "I know what I saw," is meant as a sort of self-affirmation in the face of shifting narratives or uncertain motives. It's an act of refusal when confronted with gaslighting, like, I know my feelings are valid, I know the facts that unfolded, I see how you're trying to twist them, but ultimately, I know what I saw, and that shouldn't be diminished or discredited. This song started with a bass riff I was working on in my bedroom. I would say I'm not a very traditional bassist in that I play lefty, and I also just kind of do whatever I want. I brought a few different basses to experiment with, since it's very rare you'll find a lefty in a studio's collection. But I ended up using my Mustang bass, which was originally a righty, but I'd flipped to a lefty. I also wrote this song on that Mustang, and I think having the flipped orientation and slightly off distribution of weight does have an influence on where I'm playing on the neck and what kind of tones I get. Heaven Or and the rest of our album Hanging Garden was recorded at Headroom Studios in Philly over just 2 days, which is honestly pretty nuts for tracking an entire full-length album. But we worked with Jackie Milestone. They're an amazing engineer with seemingly endless focus and stamina for those long days. They're also a friend, which really helped. Our previous recordings were done in a basement with minimal technical considerations, so having another person we trusted to help refine the tone was a really big step for Corey Flood.